We'll take you to the top of the hour in our show. It's a lot of picks here on Drive Through. We'll cover the Monday Night Football game as well as some football. We'll have some betting tips as well. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We have a lot of cappers on our show today. Let's take a look at our cappers in our green room from Pick Dogs. We'll start the show. One of my co-hosts will be Joe D'Amico. Rod Zawacki coming off a birthday weekend. See how well he's recovered. We also have Ninos. Ninos in the house. And Chris Ruffalo will be joining me in the co-host role. We got Kevin Thomas and Brian Bitler. What is your record this year in college football, Brian?
I'm still ranked number one. I had a crappy Saturday, but we're looking at 58% winners on the season. So I'm hopefully I'll build that up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into Saturday. So.
He's right up there. I see Al near the top of the leaderboard there, Al. So we're coming off a good weekend now. When I picked Dogs Premium, first face I saw was yours.
Yeah, it was a better week than weekend. Had a pretty slow weekend, kind of busy with some family stuff. Became a godfather myself this weekend, so
congratulations.
Rod,
Congratulations.
Busy, thank you, and a happy birthday to Rod again. But yeah, so not too much action for me this last weekend, but it wasn't too bad either, and yeah, pretty solid weekend. So hope keep it rolling.
All right, keep it rolling. Winning hosts. All right, we'll get to our cappers in a minute. Let's bring in the co-hosts. They're joined by Chris Ruffalo and Joe D'Amico. Chris, we're coming off an exciting weekend. A lot of good college football. The Clemson-Notre Dame game had a lot of people on the edge of their seats. Was that Clemson minus going to cover or not? It didn't. And, of course, NFL was a wild weekend as well. But your thoughts here, what we saw on Saturday?
Yeah, that Clemson-Notre Dame game was fantastic. And, I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. The referees kind of started to take center stage a little bit in some of these games. I mean, for me, most notably, the first instance I saw in that Clemson-Notre Dame game was Notre Dame receiver making a catch, and then, the ball kind of spinning, touching the grass, and still ruled it a catch. But, I mean, again, that's why they got to say indisputable evidence. Broadcasters thought it was indisputable. The refereeing expert, the rules expert they always bring in, thought it was indisputable. But I guess the only opinion that matters is the guy that's on the field, and it was still a fantastic game. I would love to watch that another 100 times. Maybe we'll have a bit of a different outcome if they meet in the playoffs. Should both teams get there, I think you still gotta see how Clemson, or ask what if Trevor Lawrence was healthy and in that game.
That's the question. What if with Trevor Lawrence? Now over to Joe. Joe, your take from what we saw this weekend in college football.
Well, obviously, as we talked about the last few months, last 6 or 7 weeks, a lot of these teams that are laying big numbers. I mean, they're losing outright. And I'll be honest with you, as far as the Clemson-Notre Dame game, I didn't touch it. I was happy that I got everybody paid with my biggest game of the week again on Cincinnati, 2 weeks back to back, and everybody paid with Cincinnati, a few other big winners there. But as far as Clemson goes, this is the team that's supposed to have a very big defense, and I don't think, I'm sorry, and I'll argue this anywhere in baseball, basketball, football, if one guy makes a difference between winning and losing to another quality team, to me, it bothers me about the whole team. It tells me that they are beatable, because in football, any one person, we can predict. We can make an allotment for a guy's tendency to get injured, but we cannot predict injuries, and we don't know in today's health crisis and the situation who's going to come down with coronavirus, or who has been close proximity with somebody with coronavirus, and they're going to have to sit and test positive for 5 days. Test negative for 5 days. And I think this has a big impact on this. But it bothers me about the Clemson game that Trevor Lawrence made that bit of a difference, because I think Notre Dame is a very good team. I don't think they're a great team, which tells me Chris and I were talking before the show about a few things in college football. I looked this up, Tony, because I was watching some games the other day. Some top 10 teams are giving up a lot of points. And I went to look it up today when all the stats were in over the weekend. And there's only 2 teams in the top 10 that rank in the top 10 in defense. I believe that's Notre Dame and BYU. And I will tell you, BYU played a bunch of cream puffs. I think Notre Dame, outside of beating Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, I don't think they played the toughest opposition. So it tells me that a lot of these teams that are top 10 or top 15, top 20, top 25 teams, they're giving up points. Even teams like Alabama are giving up 22 a game. As explosive as their offense is, what happens when they play another good team with a good offense? It does have to come down to defense sooner or later, and we're just not seeing overall defense on the college level. And it's bothering me. Don't get me wrong. There are certain teams that are playing good defense. But as far as teams that have had 5 or 6 games under their belt, guys, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of points these teams are giving up, these top 10, 15, 20, 25 teams. And I think that even further down the road, when we go into bowl games or even the college football playoff, if you see big numbers, it's time to start taking dogs. Let me tell you, start barking with them dogs because they're going to start paying off.
Yeah, I can't argue that point there. Chris, looking at the NFL, of course, the 2 hours second game, the Miami Dolphins get the win against Arizona and the Saints. I really like the Saints defense. Now everyone is in love with this New Orleans Saints team after that spanking they gave Tampa Bay.
Yeah, just a quick point, just to go back to the Clemson thing. I think maybe I misspoke. I think the what if is more towards if that result would have changed with Trevor Lawrence in the lineup. I think I said it last week. I think DJ Uiagalelei can, you don't become the number 2 starter on the top team in the country by accident or not have any talent going into that spot. So, and I think he performed really well for the spot that he was given. But yeah, towards the NFL, I was on the wrong side of a lot of games this weekend. It's the nature of the beast. But yeah, Miami looked fantastic against Arizona. I think that was going to be the toughest test so far this season for the Dolphins, and they passed. The 31 points is a bit of an issue, but again, the Dolphins are well coached. We saw Tua play the part of every part of the high draft pick that he was projected to be, and Miami does have something going with Tagovailoa under center, and these are 2 of the guys that are going to lead the charge for years to come. Yeah, and there were a couple disappointing performances, I think, for me on the weekend. I think most notably, and we mentioned it this morning, for Tampa Bay to come out in prime time and only score 3 points, and for one of the this has been one of the better and more underappreciated defenses in the National Football League this season, and for you to give up 38 points at home to a division rival is, that's for what we were just talking about defense. It just didn't show up for Tampa Bay last night.
Did not show up. Your view on the NFL, Joe?
Yeah, real quick, Chris. Does it bother you at all that it bothered me as I watched the end of that Tampa Bay game? That even at the end of the game when they took a knee, they only had 4 rushing attempts the entire game. I mean, 4 rushing attempts. It to me, the defense obviously. Tom Brady was not moving the ball in the air. At least try something on the ground. And I just don't understand a lot of the play calling, especially in the second half.
No, absolutely. And if you just give me a second, I'm just trying to get Tom Brady's stat line from that game. Because if you even look at that, 4, even 5 rushes in that game. And let's see here, Tom Brady, 22 of 38. So that means that they really only ran 43 offensive plays in that game, which, again, is in today's day and age for a roster with that much talent on the lineup with guys like Brady, Gronkowski, all that, to run 43 plays as a whole, okay, I that's bordering on unacceptable for me. But for 5 rushes at most, whether you count it as 4 or 5, wherever you're seeing it, you still have guys like Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, 5 rushes. 6. I see as I think the record going into last night was 6. But you want to talk about one-dimensional. And that's not even saying one-dimensional because the defense is taking you out of it. That's just your play call. That's what you put yourself in. And I get, saying, okay, well, a team is down by a couple of scores. They have to start passing the ball. They were down by 35. To have only 5 rushing attempts in the game, even in the first drive, you see teams have 5 or 6 rushes.
I'm wondering, Chris, I'm sorry. I'm wondering how much of that was maybe Tom Brady ego that he just wanted to get the ball in the end zone. Back in the old days, if you remember, in the old Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino was allowed to call for every first and second down. Shula called every third and fourth. I'm wondering how much Tom Brady actually had as an impact of just throwing the ball. Maybe it's ego. I don't know at this point.
Oh, and I definitely think that's a very good point. I mean, this is some of the most scrutiny I think he's faced from the media in his entire career. Going back to the 4th down against Chicago, and then now having the blemish, quote unquote, on his record this season of getting shellacked by a New Orleans team that has their own 40-plus-something-year-old quarterback on the roster. And, and Tampa Bay was one of those teams that, they got Tom Brady, who has a winning pedigree. They bring in Gronk. They have all these guys, and all of a sudden it becomes Super Bowl or bust for the Buccaneers. And now they lose in prime time, and now he's under scrutiny again. Oh, how could your team only run the ball 5 times? How could you guys lose like 38-3 to the Saints? Again, it's because I think, Joe, like you said, I think his ego's, growing and growing by the day. He's getting called into question, and he's reacting. I don't want to say like a baby if that's the case, but it's selfish is what it is. You're putting the I in team, and that's not how you win games and get the job done at the professional level.
Yeah, you can also make a case. Sometimes coaches get in panic mode. It's 7-0. Then it's 4-0. Then you got to feel you got to match the scores, and that's where you're going to get into panic mode. You lose sight of a game plan, and sometimes the game gets away from you. So that's something also to consider there with the coaching, with the coaches feeling under pressure that you've got to match the scores because you're playing the Saints because they can put up 40 points on you, and you better match their scores. So something to think about moving forward here. All right, guys, this is the drive-through. A lot of picks coming up. We've got the cappers ready to go here, so we're going to cover. We're going to cover Monday Night Football right off the bat because we got Brian Bitler on the show. And Brian, how are things going for you? And how did your Sunday NFL go?
I'm ready to hit the ball right out of the park right off the bat with that Monday night game. Sunday, you know what? The Buffalo Bills curb stomped Seattle into the ground. There's never in question, but I had a letdown with the Colts. They just didn't get it done for me. Ravens defense took over second half. 2 in 1 day, I'll take it. I'm ready to move on to Monday Night Football.
All right, ready to move on from Monday Night Football here. We got Brian Bitler on board here. Brian, you're going to take a look at this Patriots and Jets game. Let's get you caught up on the numbers here. We're seeing a little bit money on New England because I'm seeing some 9.5. I'm sorry, on the Jets because we're seeing some 9.5s out there. New England favored. There are 10s and 9.5s out there in the marketplace. Total sits about 42.5, 42 in some places. How do you see this one?
I see the total has moved up a little bit. I locked in with a small bet on the under 41.5. It's just I don't see where the points are going to be scored in this one. Cam Newton, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 73 quarterback rating. And then Sam Darnold on the other side. The Jets just have trouble getting the ball in the end zone. 3 touchdowns, 6 picks, a 65 rating for him. It wouldn't shock me if neither team scored a value bet here. I'm going to put a little bit on the under here. I just don't see how it goes over.
All right, Brian Bitler says take under the total. Chris, it looks like a statue in the pocket. Last check, I thought it was Joe Flacco under center here with Darnold's issue. But how do you see the Jets trying to score on Patriots?
Yeah, I'm seeing Joe Flacco as well, and I don't see them moving the ball with any sort of success at all tonight. I mean, Brian, everyone knows Brian started the tradition of having the first touchdown scorer in these primetime games. And I kind of joked with him about it this morning, saying this could be one of the prime times to maybe put a little bit on no field or no touchdown to be scored in the game as the first scorer at plus 10,000, because this seems like a logical spot where, it could happen. And what have we said before?
Yep.
The problem that you get into with Cam Newton is when you force him to use his arm. He's better with the ball, and all the Patriots' success is going to come when he has to use his feet. When he has to use his feet, he's going to be running the ball a lot, and it's going to chew up a ton of clock. And then even then, when they've had a healthy Cam Newton running the ball at full strength, this isn't the same Patriots team that was lighting up the scoreboard. They're only putting up like 21, 24 points. And for a Jets team that hasn't put up more than 10 points in any of their last 4 games, that's going to be an issue, and I can definitely see the case that you can make for the under in this spot.
Yeah, looking at the under here, of course, Joe D'Amico, you have to wonder about Cam Newton. He was trying to lead the Patriots to victory last week against the Bulls. It fumbles the football. Just another tough break for Cam Newton in his tenure here in New England. How do you see him bouncing back from that?
Another tough break. It's even tougher for us son of a guns that bet on him. That son of a gun. But anyway, I think he puts up great numbers. He put up great numbers, and prior to him being out for a little bit, and I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's been through a lot ups and downs. I think he's bounced back a lot. He's a great athlete. He certainly wins more than he loses. And I'll tell you what, I can see him bounce back. And I'll tell you what, if you're going to bounce back, just what the doctor ordered, playing the New York Jets. I'll be honest with you there. I do agree with Brian on a lot of points he made as far as the total. I don't see where the points are going to come from. I mean, let's face it. What do we have? 6 or 7 on the panel today? We could get 5 more off the street, and we could compete with the New York Jets. This is one of the worst teams in all of football. No, you know, it's funny. I get a lot of people that call and they hit me up on social media, hit me with emails, Tony, Chris, Brian, trying to say, oh, there are college teams that could beat the New York Jets. No, there isn't. Alabama, Clemson, none of them could even contend with any pro team. Remember that. But this is the worst pro team in football. They are bad on both sides of the ball. They are bad coaches. I feel bad for some of their team members, but I will tell you this: I feel even worse for the city of New York because they don't have a really good team anywhere. I mean, you gotta drive up to Buffalo, all the way upstate New York, and to us native New Yorkers in New York City, we don't consider that New York. We consider that Canada. But I will tell you, I think if the Patriots can make a comeback, you understand this is a team running several game losing streak. This is uncharted territory for the Patriots over the last 20-plus years. We haven't seen this team lose too many in a row, and they have to bounce back right now. At least, if they're going to make a run for their division, they have to do it now. Miami's playing well. Miami's playing better with Tua. Buffalo's playing well. Obviously, the Jets are a gimme each week, but they have to make a run now. And if they don't, I do believe that their season is in serious trouble. I think we've seen a lot of that. I think we've seen the last few days, Minnesota the last 2 weeks bounce back because of Dalvin Cook. They are trying to make a run now in that division. But I think that right now, if the Patriots do not bounce back tonight against this New York Jets team, I think we're going to see the end of the Patriots, and we might even see the writing on the wall. You're going to start seeing coaches, players, hell, you might even see owners depart from Foxborough pretty soon because it's getting ugly up there.
Just from the numbers point of view, 6 of the 8 Jets' losses have been by double digits. The other point margins were by 9 and 8 points. And looking here with New England, they've had recent success against the Jets, winning 8 straight and covering 5 of their past 7 meetings here. So some of the numbers to think about here as you look at this Monday Night Football game. Of course, the Patriots almost in a must-win. When you see Buffalo, Miami having success, you got to kind of keep stride with them. All right, Brian, as we've approached the bottom of the hour, why don't you let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Over there at Pig Dogs Premium, I got a special that's going to go just up until 8 o'clock, just when the drive-thru is just about done. You can get the rest of my college football for just $300. Takes you all the bowl games, the rest of the regular season. You want to check that out, another hour yet, that'll be up there. Also tonight, my NFL money shot, $30 at pigdogs.com.
All right, guys, so check out Brian Bitler over at Pig Dogs Premium. Why not pick up one of his long-term passes over there? 30-day all-sports pass will get you all of his college football plays, NFL, and of course, college basketball begins in 2 weeks and in 2 days. So it's coming up. Get all of his plays over there at Pig Dogs Premium. You can see Brian getting ready for those big cards up there, 40, 50 games, sometimes over in excess of 80 on the schedule. There's a lot of action there for Brian Bitler.
Love college basketball.
He loves his college basketball, does Brian Bitler, so we'll have him. We'll get ready for that. All right, Brian, as always, have yourself a great night, and we'll talk with you on Friday because you're a Monday to Friday guy.
That's right. I'll catch you gentlemen at the end of the week. Have a good one.
All right. We'll see him there. All right, continue here on the drive-through. Joe responding. Let's actually bring Joe D'Amico back with us. There you go, Joe. You're back with us. All signals are good. I don't have my phone with me. I know I got a text about the signal quality. Everything's looking good on this end, even on the YouTube channel. So just to answer that response there, that question from you there, Joe, we're looking good. All right, continue here on the drive-through. A lot more picks coming, and we're going to turn it over to Joe D'Amico. He's coming in with the play. He's going for some action as our favorite team, Akron, is in action.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're keeping score, I did okay again last week on free plays. I did drop 1 or 2, but I did win a couple. Free plays here on the drive-through show, 28-10 run. I've got another free winner for you in MAC action. I want to look at this game here with Ohio. Just after Buffalo, Ohio is the favorite to take the MAC conference at 3.5 to 1. Akron, sports fans, they are touted dead last in the conference, 100 to 1. And folks, that's for good reason. This is a team going back to the start of last season that is 0-13 straight up, 1-12 against the number, and it seems as the spreads get bigger, the beatings get worse, guys. Last season, the Zips were outscored by an average of 26.3 a game. Their offensive numbers, and I am not making this up, sports fans, are literally the worst in the nation. Their defensive stats are nearly as bad. As we saw them in game 1, and I don't want to judge any team by one game, but as we saw them in their season opener, it doesn't look like they've improved so much. WMU, Western Michigan, they burned Akron in the season opener 58-3. And last season, Zips Bobcats meeting, we saw 52-3 Ohio thumping. I'm certainly not crazy about the number here this early in the season, as it went from 24 just since this morning. I looked at this. I told Tony I was going to cover this show early this morning. It was 24. It went up to 27. There are some 27 and a halves in some places just since this morning. But if you're looking for action, here's what I'm thinking, guys. I like a small two-team teaser here where you can tease Ohio down to 21. I certainly think they'll cover that. And under the 62 and a half, I don't see this team, Akron, putting up too many points. So I'm looking at a 21, minus 21, minus 62 and a half. Give you a little action tomorrow night in the MAC. And I am excited about that. I think that's a winner. Listen, even teasers, that doesn't matter where your money comes from as long as you're making it. I'm not a big teaser guy. I'm not a big parlay guy. But I do like this situation on an early week action play in the MAC.
All right, Joe D'Amico says go ahead and tease this one, tease Ohio, and tease the under the total versus Akron. So you will get 6-point teaser in this one, Joe, or 6, 7?
6-point teaser. Yeah, don't go too crazy. As long as you got the 27, I'd like the 21 on Ohio, and I like the under 62 and a half. I think it's a winner for us.
All right, can't argue that one. All right, Chris, your thoughts here. We know we kid about Akron, and we saw them collapse. We actually in the first half they put up a 13, and then after that was the last we heard from them because they were just totally thumped in that second half last week.
And, we make the joke that I call them the Zips because that's how many points they score. And I know, we just had Brian Bitler on. He called them the Zippers. I don't know if he did it off air on the show this morning, but I said if the Zippers are going to get pants this week. And you know what? The thing about Akron, this is a team that is so bad they would finish 13th in a 12-team league. Like, they are horrendous. And this, I don't see it getting any better against Ohio. Ohio, Nathan Work's little brother looked good last week after taking over for Big Brother at quarterback, and they threw for 230 yards. And against this Akron defense, 230 yards is probably good enough for 28 points on its own. So, I mean, if we're being realistic, was it 52-3 last year?
Yep.
And you look at what Western Michigan did last week. Western Michigan was a team that lost their starting quarterback, lost their starting running back that ran for over 1,400 yards, was having a bunch of new players in that system, not to the extent of NIU that had 60-something freshmen, but still a fair chunk of that starting lineup had to come in and sort of get with lead, and they won by 45 points against Akron, who was bringing back 89% production from last year. Again, I said it once, I'll say it again. You can bring back 89% production. That's great. But if it's 89% production from a team that scored 10 points a game last year, good luck, okay? Again, we joked about it earlier with the Jets. We could pull the panel together and 4 guys play both ways and special teams against Akron and cover this number. I'm laying it with Ohio.
Yeah,
I'm not even teasing it. I'll even push it up to 34.5. I think this is a complete rout.
Yeah, I will say this. Looking at the Ohio State, they did lose to Central Michigan, but that's not a bad loss. Because we talked about Jake McElwain, what he's done with that program, greatly improved them. So to me, that's no shame in losing to Central Michigan, and that'll only make Ohio a more hungry team here. Because remember, there isn't a lot of games to play in the MAC, so you better get your wins and become bowl eligible. Who knows what the bowl picture is going to look like? We don't even know that, but you got to get every win you can get and leave nothing for doubt, right, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. And I was kind of talking about when Tony, you and I were first talking about the MAC. So there's probably going to be a lot of parity in a 6-game season. You're probably going to see a logjam of anywhere between 4 wins and 2 wins. It's possible that Akron might finish with less wins than 0. You're going to have a logjam, maybe a 5-win team, a few 4 wins and down. Akron's not going to come even anywhere near sniffing a win here this season. I can easily see them being the Kansas level team of the non-Power 5 conferences. Kansas and Akron are like right here in terms of just complete ineptitude in terms of putting points on the board.
Now, if you had to make a line on a neutral field between Akron and Bowling Green, how much better is that? If Bowling Green's on their schedule? I didn't even see if Bowling Green's on Akron's schedule, but Bowling Green's a team I think that's really down too.
I wouldn't put anyone's money on that. Not even my worst enemy's money on that game. But
that could be the worst college football game in history.
You're not wrong. The worst. Wait, do they play this
UMass.
season? No,
that's a question. Yeah, no, I don't know. We have to look it up. Oh, I just threw that out there, just at the top of my head, because you're telling me they would beat every team.
You do realize you threw it out in the universe, and Akron Bowling Green might actually happen this year. Just because you said it. It's 2020, Tony. Do not put something like that in the universe.
And don't believe that UMass is on the phone trying to line up Akron and Bowling Green next year. So I wouldn't be surprised. All right, Joe.
You want to know who's going to lose? You want to know who's going to lose that game? All of us.
The Jets.
Anyone who watches that game. The only thing we're losing is 3 hours of our lives if we watch that game.
Absolutely, no question about that. All right, here on the drive-thru, we got Joe's play from Maction, teasing Ohio and teasing to the under in that one against Akron. So, Joe, why don't you let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Sports fans, the king of Monday Night Football. I have another Monday Night Football winner to start off your week tonight on Pick Dogs. Go over there, get my Monday Night Football winner, kick off your week off right with a big win. I'm very excited about this, but something I'm even more excited about, guys, as a multi-time college basketball world champion handicapper, college hoops is just 2 weeks away. Guys, I have posted a flash 50% off sale off the entire season on Pick Dogs. You'll receive each and every piece of my winning information I have from the opening tip-off in 2 weeks straight through the final seconds of the national title game in April. That's 20 weeks of winners for just $375. Sports fans, if you got a calculator or an abacus or whatever you got to count it, that comes to just about $2.50 a day to make your biggest sports betting profit you've ever made. Guys, I just want to let you know, just for the record, the UCLA Bruins, they have 11 college basketball national titles. I've got more handicapping titles than them. I am better than the Bruins, and I will prove it again this season. Go to Pick Dogs right now. This 50% off flash sale will only be available for a few more days, and then it is gone. Then you got to pay twice the amount, and I believe that saving you money is just as good as making you money. Give me 5% of your trust, guys. I'll only the other 95 this college basketball season, giving you the best season you've ever had.
That's right, guys. Check out Joe D'Amico over at Pig Dogs Premium. Get that college basketball package up for him. Get a long-term pass from one of the best in the industry. That's Joe D'Amico. Been around several years. Knows what's going on. His in and outs. Has great sources of information. Joe D'Amico. You'll find him over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, continuing on our show as we have got a lot more to cover. Got a lot more picks coming up, and right now we're going to continue to cover. It's Monday. We got to cover action. We got the Monday night game in, and if you missed it, stay tuned for the end of the show when we recap all the picks. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Will and Kevin Thomas because he's got a pretty good matchup here to talk about from the MAC conference. Let me go ahead and pull him up. Let's see, Kevin Thomas. Here we go. Kevin Thomas. How are things going today?
Good. How you guys doing, guys?
Can't complain. What you take from this past weekend in the NFL? What got your attention? I know that the Saints got a lot of people's attention.
Yeah, and like Brian, I lost that Colts pick too. That really hurt. But the points. I mean, the Bills, what they did to the Seahawks, how Russell Wilson looked there under pressure. I mean, he still had like 300 yards passing, but I mean, he just. Any team's beatable. I don't see anyone running away with this. And the way the Steelers played against the Cowboys, I mean, that could be a little bit of the game the week before. But I just don't see any, besides the Chiefs, I don't see anybody that is way ahead of anybody else. Even my Packers, I feel are still in that running. When after they lost to the Bucs, I kind of lost a little bit of hope. But I see anyone can win this thing. So
yeah, anyone can win this. I'll throw something to Joe. What about those Raiders? Those Vegas Raiders, 5-3, on the way to 10-win season.
5-3. Vegas is excited about it. They're putting points on the board. I think that they're definitely a little bit better than most people, even myself, had expected them to be at this point. I don't think they're I mean, they did have a win against the Kansas City Chiefs a few weeks ago that they caught the Chiefs looking, and, they always play each other tough. Kansas City was on a high pace. They're winning games. They were winning big, and then they ran into the Raiders. They're due for a letdown. It happens. I think they're a good team. They're playing they're playing not the greatest competition in the league right now, which I think benefits them. I think they're playing good. They can certainly put points on the board. I think defensively they have some issues. But you know what? The talk around Vegas is a lot of excitement. Everybody's happy for them. Obviously, we want to see our hometown teams do well. And at the beginning of the season, people were worried here. They were already looking straight to Vegas Golden Knights season because we weren't looking at the Rebels. That's for sure in college football. We were looking straight ahead to hockey. People were buying hockey in September. So. I think that it's a good thing for sports in general. I think it's a great thing for Vegas. And as my home for over 31 years, I'm very happy about it. And if we could make money on it, even better. Love the total over in that game. And as long as they keep playing teams like they're playing right now, I'm going to keep playing overs, I think.
Yeah, a lot of overs there from the Raiders. As long as they're not in any snow games with wind, you can count on the over there from the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, Kevin, you're going to be looking at some action here. This one going off Wednesday between Toledo and Western Michigan. Now, this one's set around pick, but a lot of money recently here on Western Michigan now up to 2.5, total 59.5. I think people caught on to Jim McElwain's turnaround last year with this program, but Toledo is a formidable opponent. How do you see this one?
Yeah, the media poll has Toledo ranked above Western Michigan, but like Chris mentioned earlier, Western Michigan had a whole bunch of new starters, and it starts at the quarterback position with Caleb Ellery, and he looked good, but they played Akron week 1. So what are we saying there? He looked good, but he threw 16 passes, 12 completions, 262 yards, which that's pretty impressive. And he has a studs wide receiver who is a senior in Dwayne Eskridge, and the kid was hurt most of the time last year, so he's out there to make a name for himself. But I think on the other side of the ball with Toledo, they got 2 seniors, especially the quarterback, Eli Peters. He looked good for touchdowns, but once again, against Bowling Green, how much can we put into that? Then they got that stud running back, Shaquille, let me say his name right, Seymour. That kid, I watched that game, and he's fast. Toledo's fast all around, offense, defense, but they had no sacks in that game. They're more of a opportunity zone. They're going to get the turnovers. They're going to get the interceptions, and I expect that to happen. I think they still win. I think they win by a touchdown here. They're 1-0 in Kalamazoo. They're 6-4 ATS against Western Michigan since '92. I see no reason why the line moved the way it did. I still like Toledo here to win handily.
All right, Kevin Thomas says go ahead and take Toledo here plus a 2.5. Chris Ruffalo in this one. What say you in Toledo, Western Michigan?
Well, first, quickly, I'd like to say, look at what you did, Tony. Bowling Green and Akron are playing December 5th. This is your fault. Anyways.
Someone's always going to have to go. Someone's always has to go.
No, they'll find a way to finish that game in a tie. You look at Kevin made a great point. I mean, it's hard to really invest in anything after 1 week, in a regular season. But now, especially in the MAC, when you have the 2 teams playing against each other that just played Bowling Green and Akron, who are not much of anything in the MAC, especially in any year, regardless of COVID season or not. Now, I'm with him on this one. I think Toledo is the better team side by side. I like what Eli Peters did. The tandem of Shaquille Seymour and Bryant Kobach, probably the best running back tandem in the MAC, if not one of the better running back tandems in the country. I think my main play for this game was probably closer to the under, just because I see the step up in competition on both sides. I can see being a little bit more of a struggling game too, but I also think Toledo's going to run the ball again with conviction. There's going to be a lot of chunk plays and a lot of clock taken off of the board, and I see it coming in under the number, but I can definitely make the case for Toledo with the points in this one.
All right, kind of agreeing there with Toledo plus the points. All right, Kevin, we've moving on here. We passed the bottom of the hour here. Why don't you let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Oh, you can still get my Monday night total for tonight's game, and then Wednesday on this same game, I have a total of the week between Western Michigan and Toledo. So you can jump on that still, and you can still jump on tonight's game. No college basketball passes yet. I'm still a little worried about the COVID with Biden in office. I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm taking it easy on putting a package up for college basketball. But I was pretty decent, about 54% winners last year in college basketball. So,
all right, guys. So check out Kevin Thomas over at Pig Dogs Premium. Once you pick one of those long-term passes, 7 or 30 days, get all of Kevin's plays for 30 days. That would be college football. It would also be the NFL if college basketball starts, as it's scheduled to start on the 26th. You'll get that as well, so pick it up over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, Kevin, as always, great having you show. Have yourself a great night, and we'll talk with you next Monday.
Yeah. See you Monday. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Kevin Thomas here on the drive-through as we continue on. Someone in the forum or in the chat room posted, "Hey, the NBA is going to be back soon." It is. And who better to get us ready for the NBA draft than Chris Ruffalo? Chris went on a tear today because I mentioned to him, when we talk about the show beforehand, he said, the NBA draft is only, 9 days away, I think. And sure enough, you went and found some bets to make on the NBA draft. Why don't you let everybody in on what you've got going?
I don't know. I think we have how many more people that still have to go? I can't filibuster that long. But we look at the draft, and one of the main bets that people are going to make is who's going to go first overall. Personally, I think Minnesota should take either James Wiseman from Memphis, it's the double machine anytime he takes the floor, or LaMelo Ball, because even with the issues of having a loudmouth father and a brother that can't leave China without potentially being put in prison for life. He's still a solid point guard. He's got a polished game that maybe needs a little bit more refinement, but he could still be at one of the top point guards in this draft. So I think you're going to get Wiseman at plus 750 or LaMelo Ball at plus 170. What do I think they'll actually do? Take Anthony Edwards first overall at minus 215. And that's a pick that to me doesn't make a ton of sense because this is a team that just dished out, another former number one overall pick in Andrew Wiggins, basically for having lackadaisical defensive efforts from time to time, which is one of the knocks on Anthony Edwards, and just inconsistency with his jump shot, and that was something that came up from scouts at his pro day, was that a lot of front offices were kind of turned off by Edwards because he looked sluggish, his jump shot wasn't consistent, and it just seems like the Minnesota thing to do for the Timberwolves. It's been like that. We'll make a pick that doesn't make a ton of sense. It doesn't have a ton of logic behind it, but we'll figure it out later. It'll work itself out. I was gonna say Garrison Rosas, in his first season last year, he made a ton of changes in that front office. If we're reading the tea leaves with a lot of those changes, maybe they actually do the logical thing and take someone that's going to help their franchise going forward.
All right, Chris Ruffalo looking at the NBA draft. Of course, the Golden State Warriors going number 2. Rich going to get richer here, Chris. And how do you see this draft impacting the Warriors? This is a team that will try and take away that title from the Lakers.
Well, it's Tony. It's like you said, just right off the bat, the rich get richer, and it's just like, okay, well, you know what? Steph Curry got hurt. Klay Thompson's out for the year. We got rid of Kevin Durant. We've only really got Draymond Green playing the last 30, 40 games of the season. Might as well make it worth it. So let's get a high draft pick. They're probably hoping for number 1 to have a little bit more control of their fate. But I think if you don't see James Wiseman go at number 1, Golden State should go for him at number 2. From a betting perspective, you're getting plus 180 on James Wiseman's draft position to be number 1 or number 2 under 2.5. So but Golden State. Let's talk about their centers right now. This is a Golden State team. I'm just trying to get my notes here. The Golden State team that has Marquise Chris, Kevon Looney, and Alan Smolagic as their 3 bigs in the front court. I'm sorry, but James Wiseman immediately is better than all 3 of those guys. He's averaged 19 and 10, granted in a small sample size for Memphis, but with his giant wingspan of almost near 8 feet. And the potential that he has to be a double-double machine. At worst, he's an inside presence, a rim protector, a defender, a threat when you lob the ball near the rim. At best, with his high upside, he develops a 3, becomes another all-star for the Golden State Warriors, and a young piece that they can build around once all these older guys like Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson get up there in age and, potentially leave the team if one of them wants to just be the guy on a team. But that's the other thing about Wiseman that I think fits the mold with this Golden State Warriors team. A lot of scouts and a lot of people that were doing interviews with Wiseman said he wants to be more part of a team dynamic. not be the guy going to a certain city and being the guy on that franchise. What better team dynamic than to have Steve Kerr as your coach with that winning mentality, and you have guys around you like your Klay Thompsons, your Steph Currys, your Draymond Greens, and to grow in that winning culture. If you bring in an Anthony Edwards, okay, all you're really going to do is put him at the 2, push out Klay Thompson to the 3. It really doesn't make much sense. With Wiseman, you plug and play, you get a starter and more depth at a much needed glaring hole in that lineup, which is size inside, and you get one of the best players and possibly a generational big man in this draft.
Chris, the team that got my interest here are the Chicago Bulls. We call them the Baby Bulls. They have a lot of talent. They just seem not to get it together. Injuries has been a part. They can't always keep their full unit together, but can the Bulls really improve themselves here in this draft?
I think they can. I mean, for me, the Chicago Bulls almost seem like that team that might reach a little bit early and that might, maybe go for an international prospect. I know I'm going to butcher his name like nobody's business. Denny Avdija. I think he's from Maccabi Tel Aviv in Israel. But he's one of those guys that he'd plug and play into any real lineup right out of the gate, and I just think that like I said, I definitely he's a high upside player, be a perfect fit. He's got great passing, ball movement. He's a good defender, and that's kind of one of the things that you would think that the Bulls would need, especially just having issues with their defense last season. And they just seem like the kind of team that would go after another international player. They've already got a guy like Lauri Markkanen on the team. Granted, he did his work at Arizona, but again, you always get one or two of the high upside international guys going in the top 5 or 6 picks of the draft, and I think he's going to be one of those guys.
All right, one more team for you here, and because this team did so well in the bubble, got everyone's attention, the Phoenix Suns.
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's kind of one that I was up in the air on for a lot of it. I'm just trying to see where I had him. See,
They're drafting 10th.
I'm either gonna go with Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State, or Devin Vassell from Florida State, just because I think that you kind of want an insurance policy if Devin Booker gets fed up and just says, I've had it with all of the losing, because he said last season he's done with losing. He wants to be part of a winning team. And, there's nothing really stopping him from saying, okay, either I want to be traded. I don't know what his contract is, but if he's still under control for a couple of seasons, there's nothing stopping him from saying, I want to be traded, or for maybe walking at the end of the season and just forgetting about signing a supermax deal with Phoenix and just worried about, signing a big money contract, maybe not the biggest money that he can get, but a big money contract to go to a winning team and to, play out his years there and at least contend. It's all well and good to say that Phoenix did well in the bubble. They went 8-0 straight up, 8-0 against the spread, only missed out on the playoffs by a game. The fact is they still missed out. And you can't be one of those 16 teams that goes for a championship if you're number 17 and missing out on the playoffs. So I think that, I was going to say you can't win the lottery if you don't buy the ticket. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And you can't win a championship if you're not in the playoffs. And I think Devin Booker, if he chooses to leave, that's where a guy like Halliburton can come in, because at least you'll still have a point guard. And Vassell, he can be a scorer, and the Suns, they already have a good point guard. They already have a good big man in Ayton. You could add a little bit of depth in maybe in the other 3 spots, and maybe Vassell could plug and play at a 2 or a 3. Right.
Okay. That's Chris Ruffalo giving us the breakdown. NBA draft about 9 days away. Of course, the league begins play on December 22nd. So we're making the countdown here to the start of the NBA season. We're all excited about it, and to have back to a full card of action. A lot of teams in the NBA. So looking forward to that. Joe, there was rumors at one point that Vegas was going to lure a team. Phoenix Suns was probably one of the teams that was possibly making that move over there. So is there a big appetite for the NBA in Vegas?
Well, I can tell you this. When I first moved here in 89, 90, we had the single best college basketball team in the country. And I still believe it. It's not because I'm a Vegas boy. That's the single best college basketball team in the history of college basketball. The Running Rebels. My good friend Larry Johnson, Ackles, Anderson, Anthony. These are all good friends, very good friends of mine. And I will tell you, there's a big calling for winning here in Southern Nevada. When we first got now, funny thing, Tony, Chris, when the Rebels started losing after that team, and they went through coaches like Massimino, they went through a lot of big name coaches. They started losing. Attendance went down. We don't have a big attendance, obviously, this year with college football and UNLV with the Rebels football team, and I had doubts about how they were going to fill the arenas with hockey. And then what happened was in year one, season one, the Vegas Golden Knights go to the finals. It was a grand sight to see. We were breaking attendance records across the league. All right. Then they said, okay, we're going to put a football team here. And obviously we haven't had anybody in attendance yet, but season ticket sales went through the roof. And I got to tell you, just to get the opportunity to buy season tickets for the Raiders, you had to spend $10,000 or $20,000. Don't quote me on that, somewhere in that, just to get the option to buy season tickets. And they went through the roof. And I got to tell you, I think pro basketball would work here because obviously, you only play 30-plus home games and you need maybe an arena that holds 15,000 people or 16,000. You're not filling 50, 60,000. And I think it can very well work. Please understand that there is more money located centrally here, just on Las Vegas Boulevard, than entire states have. And it's amazing. And I think this is a great place to come because of the weather, because of the vacation mecca, because of the entertainment mecca, because of the shopping, the food, the casinos. And we get just about 48, 49 million people on a regular year come visit here. The Golden Knights are a hit. We will see, and I do believe the Raiders will do well, especially because they're right next door to where their big fan base is. But I think the NBA can and will work here, and I do think that it will happen down the road because they see the success of NHL and they'll see the success of NFL here. It's just the next domino that falls here in Las Vegas. I think it will work and it could work.
Looks that way here on the drive to a quick NBA segment here with Chris Ruffalo giving us a breakdown here for the NBA draft. Chris, as we approach the top of the hour, what do you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
I'm about to drop a cliche bomb on you. I have my my Monday Night Football master key. Unlock a bunch of winnings tonight. This is my no limit play. This is the play that I love the most that you can bet. I bet it 4 or 5 times, I think, tonight, but you could probably bet it up to 10 as long as your book doesn't cut you off. This is my favorite play, one of my favorite plays of the season so far, and we're going into week 10. This, again, guys, do not miss out on this. This is $25 over the website, as low as I can put it. This is going to be a good night for you tonight if you get that play. Also, hop on one of those longer-term packages. I've got my college football and my my college football reduced, my NFL reduced, and I have college basketball coming up. And again, we're going to start having these heavier schedules. We're going to start taking names. Don't miss out on those. Don't let the shit pass you by. Get on one of those packages.
Absolutely, guys. Check out Chris Ruffalo over at Pig Dogs Premium. Long-term pass, the way to go. 30-day all-sports pass right now. Get all of Chris's plays for 30 days. That would be his NFL, college football. He also delves into European soccer and, of course, college basketball, which is 2 weeks and 2 days away on that big Wednesday here when it all starts. And there's even some college basketball on Thanksgiving because there is a tournament out there, and we'll see a lot of games. I think there's 6 games on Thanksgiving, so check it out. Check Chris's plays over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, continue on with the coverage as we're moving on the drive-through. Right now we're bringing El Ninos. El Ninos, you'll find him over at Pig Dogs Premium. You're sitting at the top of the leaderboard. El, how are you doing there today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, can't complain. I'm going to go to Pig Dogs. I see you at the top, so things must be looking good.
Yeah, doing pretty good lately. Yeah, so as I said earlier, try to keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling. Okay, my man. Now, you're delving into to the Far East here. You're going to give us some Korean base. I was going to say Korean barbecue. I'm hungry already, but you're going to give us some Korean baseball. So I'm sure there's Korean barbecue over there. And I got Chris Ruffalo going. Like, Chris, I got to hold him back. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, Chris. We're going to drool the rest of the show. Oh no!
Just go full screen on Ninos. I don't want to be seen like this.
I had to say that. Okay, Al, I'm going to go full screen with you, buddy. Let us know here. You've got the Deuce and Bears going on KT Wiz. It's the playoffs. Give us your spiel on this.
Yeah, so Chris was just getting some compliments in the chat, and you had to throw him off a little bit, didn't you? But anyways, yeah. By the way, I believe his name is pronounced Avdia for that player out of Maccabi Tel Aviv. But yeah, on to this KBO. For anyone else that's been missing baseball, they're still playing it out there. And they're actually at 50% capacity in the crowd, which is really nice to see, actually. As also wanted to mention real quick that I think that all the sports around the world could pick something up from this playoff format. Maybe a little extreme, but I do think we can all take some from it. You got the NC Dinos who finished in first place. They're going straight to the finals, so they don't have to worry about the playoffs. They go straight to the finals. As I said, it is a bit extreme, but I do think we could find something in between that and maybe just a wild card race. I think the top teams should get a little more rewarded for their regular season efforts. But anyways, moving on to this game, it should be a pretty good one. The Bears and KT Wiz finished in second and third place. They're in the semifinals here. The Bears won the first game 3-2. And they're sending a real good starter out here, Choi Won-jun. Hope I didn't butcher his name. He's 10-2 on the season with a 3.8 ERA. To face Despaigne, who's been okay. He's 15-8 with a 4.33 ERA, which isn't too bad at all in the KBL. And the Wiz we said earlier. So the Bears are on a 7-game winning streak here. They were always at the top of the table, but the KT Wiz had to actually go on a little run to finish into second place. And I'm looking at the first 5 innings here because the Bears don't have the best bullpen in the league. They have been a little better lately, but again, they started off the season real bad, and I'm still not sure I can fully trust them. And I don't see why we have to gamble on them when we're getting the better starter here. So, yeah, I'm taking the Doosan Bears plus half the run at -130. If you don't like laying juice, you could just take them on the money line and even money. But I like that plus half run. I think it's worth the 30 cents. Again, the run lines don't have much value in if you're laying a run line. Sorry, it doesn't have much value in the KBO, so you don't have to lay too much juice to get that half run either. And I think it's worth it here. So that's my play, and I really like this one. I may look at the full game too, but again, my favorite play is on the first 5 innings.
All right, Al's looking at Korean baseball, Doosan Bears, first 5 innings at plus half a run at -130 against the KT Wiz here. That's Al's play. Of course, these games are played middle of the night, overnight, in the AM, early wee hours in the morning, so get your plays in before midnight to be able to cash your winning bets. And of course, let's see. I don't know. I wanted to go to Chris here. Maybe we can't go to Chris. Poor guy. I had to bring that up, didn't I? Chris, do you follow Korean baseball?
Yeah, I had to come back to life for this part of the segment. I'm sorry. My brain went teriyaki. My body shut down. It happens. Drisamir Despaigne, man, he was tired of getting shelled in the major leagues in San Diego, so he went to Korea. And now he's still has an ERA over 4. Oh Lord, I haven't really dipped my toes in the KBO, to be honest with you. I mean, I tried to, and it's just I'm a game watcher. We hear that term on the morning show, like Mitch says he's a game watcher. I'm a game watcher, and as much as I like to say I could PVR the games and watch it later, I'm also one of those guys that I have a hard time watching it if I'm not watching it live. I have a hard time watching a repeat of a game unless there's like nothing else on TV. I'll have a hard time really watching it, or I can get one of those condensed versions that Tony, you and I talked about before. I would like to touch on the first place thing that Al was mentioning, and maybe how we can find a happy medium. I agree that maybe we could find a way to reward teams for winning first place in their respective leagues. But in an era of load management and in an era where you accuse teams of tanking and, you accuse teams of not really showing up, it's hard to necessarily have me sort of weight every game the same when, we're talking about injuries and stuff like that. Granted, you're not going to, punish a team for winning. But again, at the same time, I personally think they may have it close to being right. I think that, the NFL kind of maybe has the right idea, maybe give them the first round bye. But again, I'm not sure, certain athletes want that, because how many times did we see it last year where, the team that got the first round bye was bounced from the playoffs? It happened to New England and happened to. So, guys may not want the extra rest. Depends on really who you ask. But I agree that, maybe sending the first place team right to the finals is a little bit extreme. And I don't know how big the league. I think it's like a 10-team league. I could be wrong. Maybe it's more. But yeah, first place right to the final seems a little bit much for me. But
all right, that's from Chris Ruffalo here. And one thing I'll throw out, I heard all the bullpens are bad in KBO. That's what I heard. But that's so. I mean, that's what I've heard.
Let's just say the totals for the games are set pretty high.
That's why. No question. All right, Al, as we approach the top of the hour, I want you to let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium.
Yeah, I got my Monday Night Football play. Obviously, it's not the prettiest game, but I do like my side there. And I'll be having my Thursday Night Football play as soon as we're done with this one. And then on to checking out the Sunday card. There's a couple games I like next week, too, so be looking forward to those.
All right, guys, check out Ninos over at Pig Dogs Premium. And you can see in past 7 days, over 760 units of profit. That's all documented at Pig Dogs Premium. Why not pick up a 7-day or 30-day all sports pass and get on board with Al Ninos to get you the winner's circle. All right, Al, as always, great having you on the show. Have yourself a great night, and we'll talk with you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Good luck on this play, whether you're an insomniac or you like to sleep while your money doesn't. I think it's a good one. So,
all right,
so good luck with that one. And we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Al Ninos on KBO. Chris, you get that winner in. We'll want one tomorrow. So have a good night, buddy. Keep tabs on that KBO for us. All right, continue on the drive through. Well, we're not a pick for me today, but I'll throw some ATS and over-under trends. Some teams have just began their season. Others have played up to 8 games. So let's take a look at some of the top trends this season. Now, Arkansas has been a moneymaker. They've covered all 6 games comfortably by an average of about 11 points. Defensively, good in the red zone, good on third down, so bend not break on defense. Now, the Mountain West, we saw some fast trackers in San Jose State, Nevada, successful in all 3 of their games, really showing strong offensive ability. Wake Forest Demon Deacons, they've covered 5 of 6 spreads. Average margin has been by 11 points ATS. Demon Deacons offense putting up 37 points a game. They've seen improvement as the season has worn on. Now let's take a look at the bottom. Of course, it's the Kansas Jayhawks, who have failed to cover all 7 games by a margin of 13.5 points. They've been off the spread. The defense is allowing 48 points. Penn State 0-3 to the spread. Margin has been 18. So they've not been very good to bettors. Southern Miss, remember they went through that coaching change after week 1. They're 1-5 ATS, missing the spread by 13 points. Now App State, a good team. Mississippi State and Memphis, 1-5 ATS. Now the Mountaineers of App State, 5-1 straight up. Margin of victory 17 points. They're not covering those big numbers because they've only scored over 40 points once against an FBS team, so they're not getting enough offensive production to cover those big lines. Now we go back looking at the total. Kansas have gone over in all 6 of their games with 1 push. Their games have gone over by an average of 10 points. NC State has played over in 6 of 7. The Wolfpack games have gone over by 12.5 points. And at 5-1 to the over, Virginia and Georgia State, which are 2 teams that are lacking defense. Virginia's defense just went south this year. Now, looking at unders, and this is predictable, is FAU at 4-0. They hit the under by an average of 22 points a game. Huge swing in coaching philosophy. Lane Kiffin and Willie Taggart, we had talked about that. FAU playing to low-scoring games. Georgia Southern's gone under in 6 of 6 with the average margin of 7.7 points. Eagles primarily are running team. Chris, anything to add on to that?
Yeah, no, I think my team to back this year has been Arkansas, and 6-0 against the spread this season. I mean, another cover against Tennessee, and Coastal Carolina's been kind to us. The problem is, I think we're starting to see those numbers with Coastal get a little bit out of hand. barely missed a cover last week. The team that sort of impressed me, I think, early this season, granted, you could kind of make a case against the level of competition, is BYU, 6-2 against the spread this season. But again, even with level of competition, you still got to score to be able to cover a 30-point spread. So this has been a BYU team that's been rolling left and right, and those, and to your point, Tony, it kind of works out on the other side as well. You see a team like Kansas that's 0-7 against the spread. Guess who I have my money on? The other team. It's one of those things where it's kind of like we say, there's certain weight to trends, and this is obviously one of the biggest ones. If you can't cover the spread, when covering the spread is all we care about in this line of work, I got news for you. If you can't cover it, you're not getting my money. If all you're doing is covering it, you're getting my money. So it's one of those two things. But again, I know I'm filibustering myself now. Be aware that Vegas keeps tabs on these too. So they're not just handing, and Joe said this before, Vegas isn't just handing out free money. They keep tabs on these teams that are doing well against the spread, that aren't doing well against the spread. And trust me, they say it for a reason. The house always wins. So they find a way to break even. They're gonna move the lines to make sure we get 50-50 money. Make sure that you do your homework.
Joe, that's important with the adjustment here. When we see numbers like this, you say the lines makers see them, but how do they use them in making the odds when they use these computers looking at spreads?
Well, obviously, back in the old days, there was one or two guys that sat in a room with a couple of other guys in the next room, and they made up a line. There's a lot more that goes into it now, only because there's bigger companies and corporations. I'll still take an old Kansas City bookmaker that knows how to move the line and take 50-50, like Chris just mentioned. But I will tell you, I think that we're going to see a disparity right now. I think that, as Chris just mentioned, the bookmakers know, too, that certain teams, the BYUs, the Coastal Carolinas, the Arkansas, are starting to cover. They know that the sharp guys know this, too. They will make an allotment. They'll start moving those games and fade those half points on those hot numbers. However, we are at an advantage right now, us as the bettors. I want to tell you why. Because we just got a couple of conferences that just started 2 weeks ago. We just got in a couple of conferences that started this past week. So we could possibly take advantage of some things that the odds makers do not know, especially during this COVID situation that's really put a damper on everything. And handicapping has been tougher on us professionals. I want the general public out there to know that. But I think that the lines on the SECs and things like that might get a little bit sharper. The ACCs, I think that as you look at the Conference USA, the Pac-12, and now the MAC and the Big Ten, I think we're going to look at those. I think we can still take advantage of some lines. We've seen some big surprises in week 1 and week 2 of these conferences that just started playing. And I tell you what, those are the ones I'm going to be concentrating on. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be looking at the teams in the conferences that haven't been playing for 5, 6, 7 weeks. I will tell you this: there's always money to be made, and that's why we get paid from the general public out there, because this is what we do, But I will tell you, the lines will get sharper on the teams that have been covering. Chris just mentioned the Arkansas, the Coastal Carolinas, the BYUs. Keep an eye out, because those lines will get sharper. They'll start fading the half points there to give themselves that half-point edge. Because remember, I don't know about you guys. I know me personally, I've lost more games by a half point than I care to admit. That's because the odds makers know this too. So keep an eye out. I think there's still money to be made in every conference, but I think we can make a lot more money and take advantage of the conferences that just started a few weeks ago and this past week, because the odds makers are at a disadvantage, guys.
That's right. There's more games on the board, so you can be a lot more selective in your bets. And of course, as Joe said, keep an eye on those teams. Like Coastal Carolina was 17.5 in some places. If you laid the 17.5, you lost. If you took the 17, you pushed. Big difference there in that game against a pretty good defensive team there in South Alabama. All right, continue here on the drive-through. Now, guys, it's time to recap the picks for today. All right, we got it started with Brian Bitler. Here's our Monday night pick for the show. He said take the Patriots and Jets to go under a total of 42.5. Joe D'Amico, we're going to do a 6-point teaser with Ohio and under the total versus Akron. Kevin Thomas was on Toledo plus the 2.5 against Western Michigan. Rod Zawacki, take Buffalo, Miami O to go over total of 56.5. Al says take Deucin Bears first 5 innings plus half runs at minus 130. That's KBO baseball playoffs. And we'll go to start with Chris. Other than your pick, which one do you like the best?
I mean, obviously didn't have one today, but I will say that I do like I like Joe's two-legger there, and I'm personally, I can make the case for teasing it, bringing it down a little bit. I'm personally just going to play Ohio straight with the under. I think Akron is in for a world of hurt here. I could easily see that being like a 45-0 game where under hits easily, Ohio hits easily, and Akron lives up to their name of the Zips.
All right, Joe, other than yours, which player there do you like the best?
Well, I wish I could go with Al and the Deuce and Bears, but I know more about turbine engines than I know about Korean baseball, guys. And just like Chris, I got a little excited. I thought we were going for takeout. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to go with my Bash brother, the very sexy son of a gun, Brian Bitler, and take that under in the Patriots-Jets game. I do not have the total on Pick Dogs, but I did look at it, and I did like it, and I'm going to go with him because Brian's been red hot, and let's face it, he is one sexy son of a gun. I think he's got a winner with the under in the Patriots-Jets.
All right, that was our plays here, guys. Don't forget, we're here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time with the drive-through. It starts in the morning here on Pick Dogs and Sports Chat Place, YouTube, and social media with the morning show with Mitch and company. All right, let's go ahead and bring on everybody up there. And we've got Rod's pick right there, right below me for the first quarter. You can see there Rod Zawacki here on Pick Dogs Premium. All right, guys, let's give a wave to the audience saying goodbye and tune in tomorrow.